Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 3, Episode 4 of HBO's The White Lotus, entitled Hide or Seek. While I did still find this episode largely unsatisfying, it did at least move some aspects of the story forward a little bit. Not enough to make me say that this episode is good or entertaining. It was neither for me, but at least I can no longer say it isn't going anywhere, which, I mean, that's not, it's not much of a compliment. But it's at least moved the car out of park. Like it remains to be seen whether or not we're going to be moving it into drive at any point. But, you know, where we're going in the car is also unclear. And I'm not particularly, to wear out this car analogy, I'm not even particularly looking forward to the drive. But at least we are, in a technical sense, we are moving. And part of the reason I'm not looking forward to the drive is that even though the story is starting to move, the characters remain uninteresting or, in some cases, just flat out unlikable. And I'm hearing a lot of chatter, similar to mine, about how this is the weakest season, these are the weakest characters, it's not really moving along, all the same shit that I've been saying all season, and then they're just like, but I like it anyway. And, I mean, that's fine, assuming that that's true, but that's fine. I've liked plenty of things that I know aren't necessarily of the highest quality. But is it the case that you really like it because, like, I don't know, like, do you feel like you're supposed to like it? So that's what you're saying? Because, like, are you going in wanting to like it so you're not judging the show you're actually watching, you're judging the one that you were expecting? Because I'm judging the show that I'm watching and I don't find the characters the least bit compelling, and the complete and total non-movement of the story is boring me to death at this point. Like, I can't even say that I want the story to move forward because they've given me so little. I don't even know for sure that I want to see more. Like, I've just seen too little to judge. It's just the same shit over and over, and just incremental progress. It's not working for me. And the fact that the characters are uninteresting only serves to amplify the delay tactics that I feel like are being used in the story. Like, if I enjoyed watching the characters move throughout this world, it would have been less noticeable that a lot of this episode felt like setup for the next episode. Like last week, they set up this week's shindig on Greg and Chloe's yacht. Then this week's shindig on Greg and Chloe's yacht was largely set up for next week's shindig on Greg's yacht for this full moon party. But you want to tell me this thing's not a fucking slog, man? Like, I don't know. I just don't buy it. Like, this week's episode, it just served to get all these different parties in one place so they can plausibly arrange the events of the next episode. So now it's just like, okay, maybe the next episode is one where it's going to have something interesting happen. And that would have been a lot less frustrating for me to sit through if at least the characters were entertaining to watch. And they're just not for me. As it stands, the only interesting people on the yacht were Chelsea, Timothy, and Victoria for me. And interesting is me being very generous. Like, a more accurate descriptor would be not uninteresting. And then on land, the guy talk stuff, it was compelling, and I continue to be intrigued by where the Belinda story is going. But at the same time, you have like whatever the fuck's going on with like the Cougar plot line. Like, a plot, like, going back to the car analogy, that one's going in reverse at this point. Like, they did even less this week than the absolutely nothing that they've done in the previous episodes. Like, additionally, their plot line just felt like set up for next week too, which was really frustrating because they started setting it up from the first time that we see them in this episode. Like, when we first see them, Zach was like, I want to get out of the resort. I want to do something that's really fun. So I'm thinking, cool, something's finally going to happen, at least in one of these plot lines. Then they have a couple of like unfunny kind of like dud adventures or whatever. I mean, I'm not going to front. Like, I laughed a couple of times, but like, we're just now getting to the point where presumably something is going to happen when they party with Valentine and his friends. And I think it says a lot about how little this season has progressed that I can't even really be sure that something interesting is going to happen with Valentine's friends. I have to say presumably because for all I know, nothing's going to happen with his friends, and that hangout will just be set up for something else. I think that's probably very unlikely. But again, that's what we've been seeing to this point so far. Either way, we're halfway through this season, and I'm not even remotely interested in anything that they've set up. Hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there, so this is the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not going to lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film, and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. But I want to start this video talking about, I want to start this video shitting on the show, is what I've done. I want to continue this video by talking about Belinda, because the episode opens with her, and that character, despite having the least amount of screen time, is probably the most interesting and has seen the most forward progress in her story. So for starters, what's going on with all these noises that she keeps hearing in or around her room? And I think we're supposed to be like, ooh, what's that? Like just like how she seems to react to the show, like, oh, what's that? I'm a little alarmed here. But I'm not entirely sure, because each time we've had a scene like this, like, I couldn't tell how serious I, as the viewer, was supposed to take it. Because, like, in the episode where it happened the first time, where Pornchai had walked her home and he was drunk and he was talking about have good dreams of me or whatever, we see him, like, almost stumbling away toward, like, beach chairs. And then it cuts back inside and we hear the noise. So, like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, whoa, what the fuck was that? And then Belinda's like, what the fuck was that? And the episode plays it like, what the fuck was that? But I'm just like, Pornchai was just stumbling around outside drunk among beach chairs. Like, he could have just stumbled onto something. So I don't see how it's supposed to be as alarming for me, the audience member, as Belinda was treating it in that scene. Then in this episode, the noise sounded like it was almost coming from inside the room. Like the intruder's inside the house. And she reacts, but she doesn't investigate it all, and then the scene ends. So it's like, it's causing like an imbalance with like how seriously I'm supposed to take these scenes, since I can't even make sense of how seriously Belinda or even the show itself is taking these moments. But this week, Belinda Googles Tanya and learns about her death. And then she Googles Greg and confirms his identity and that he works for the Department of Land Management. I'd imagine the Department of Land Management does not pay super yacht money. But then, after they meme mug each other in passing, Greg Googles her and finds images of her and her son Zion, who we know is nearing arrival in Thailand. While I don't necessarily find a confrontation between Greg and Belinda to be the most exciting prospect for the show, it's something, which is more than can be said for pretty much every other plot line up to this point. But to that point, let's talk a bit about the other plot line that has some movement, which is Timothy Ratliff's. He's continuing to steal his wife Victoria's lorazepam, which, again, she offered it to you, so whatever. So stealing and lying about it, it's purely to protect his ego and the way that his family views him. I get it, but again, not the most compelling thing. Like, he's not going to take the prescription pills that he's been offered because he doesn't want his family to see him as somebody who takes prescription pills that have been offered to him. Wow, that's totally fucking riveting. Like, no, it's not. But that's all we've got from that plot line so far. Anyway, Timothy's fucking fried through this entire episode, and at this point, it seems like Victoria is willfully choosing to ignore it and just put on the blinders, pretend like she don't see it. Like, she notices her pills are missing twice in this episode. First, she notices some missing from the bottle, and then later notices the bottle missing altogether. And I'm a bit conflicted on how I feel about this, and I shouldn't be, and I wouldn't be if the season were performing better to this point. Because if this were a better season, I'd be giving a lot more benefit of the doubt regarding what I'm about to talk about. So here's my thing. I can't be sure that Victoria is willfully trying to ignore the fact that her husband is stealing her pills and is high as shit, or if Victoria is just a dumb character. And like, if this were a better season, I'd be sitting here like, I love how in denial Victoria is. But like, I don't feel like I can give that credit to a season that's performing this poorly. Like, I'd be giving a lot of depth and making a lot of assumptions about a character that is woefully underdeveloped because she's largely just been comic relief so far. Like, the first time she makes this discovery, she comes out and she accuses the kids or mentions it to the kids, doesn't say anything to Tim, who's sitting there high as shit in his robe with his dick out. And then the second time, it seems like she doesn't even take it that seriously. Like, the bottle is gone and you hid your purse. Someone is stealing drugs and your husband is high as shit. But she allows the conversation to be diverted. Like, Piper's like, you don't even need them. And Piper, sweetie, that is not the fucking point. Like, Victoria, why did you allow the conversation to be diverted over something completely beside the point? And it's Mike White. This is the White Lotus. I want to sit here and be like, wow, like, Victoria's really in denial. This is so interesting. But what evidence do I really have to believe other than my willingness to assume it's denial because it's Mike White and the White Lotus? Maybe it's just shitty. Maybe it's just shitty because, like, it's really not there. It's there if you want it to be there, but it's really not there. And Victoria's also noticing all of the young hot women with the old bald men, where they call L losers back home, so LBHs. I don't know what she's making of that because, again, woefully underdeveloped, but she's noticing. That's something. And the episode ends with Victoria with this whole, she has this rant shitting on people who cheat on their taxes so bad that they have to flee the country. And she then praises Tim as a Boy Scout, which prompts him to leave the table and prompts me to shifting into talking about Tim, which is what I was supposed to be talking about in the first place. And I got diverted to talking about Victoria. So, like I said, when I originally started talking about Tim, he's high as shit the whole episode. And he has a conversation with Greg prior to this scene where Victoria talks about how he's a Boy Scout. And this conversation, he talks about people going to Thailand, either looking for something or hiding from something. Couple this with all of Victoria's talk about people leaving the country over illegal tax shit, and it's looking more and more likely that Tim is going to end up, I don't even necessarily want to say staying in Thailand, but not returning to the United States. So after Victoria praises him as a Boy Scout, he gets up, he's had enough, he gets up, he goes to get his phone. And he's told the worst news that he could possibly get is like all bad news. Like, Kenneth Wynn is cooperating and has named him. Ken is going to serve some time. All of Tim's assets are either about to be frozen or are frozen. Like, just assume they frozen. He needs to plead guilty. He's going to have to serve some time. We learn he's being accused of embezzlement and fraud. And Tim's like, I'd rather die than go to prison. And moments later, because Guy Talk is such a shitty security guard, Tim happens upon a gun, which he takes. And not to shit on the episode in its entirety, I loved how they filmed these scenes. At no point do you see Tim take the gun, but I like how you see him blurry in the background when the camera is focused on following Mook and Gaitok. Like, that was a really well shot couple of moments. And it helped to visually convey how absent-minded and how little attention that Gaitok is paying. And I thought that was a really nice way of showing that. Speaking of Guy Talk, that is essentially his story this week is what happened with this gun. Instead of getting in trouble for inadvertently allowing that robbery from a couple of weeks ago that has not been returned to yet, the security folks, they decided they're just going to buy a gun. And man, oh man, is the gun conversation some ham-fisted foreshadowing, man. Like, it was so bad and obvious that I, of course, want to laugh at it and give credit to the show for being so intentionally obvious as to make the scenes funny. But maybe it was just shitty. I don't know, but because the dude's like, here's the gun, here's where we're going to store it, here's the box, here's me closing the box, here's me locking the drawer, here's the key to the drawer, I'm giving it to you, and I trust you to not lose this gun. Now make sure you watch closely over this gun, and then no guests of the resort take it while you're over there trying to flirt with Mook. Got it? Like, that's maybe it was just shitty, dog. Like, I don't know. But moving on to Rick. he gets a great motivational speech from Amrita and more heavy-handed warnings from Chelsea about going to Bangkok. So she's like, I'm really worried. Things happen in threes. I don't want you to go. You really shouldn't go. Like, I will say this, though. Shout out to Amy Lou Wood, because she's got to know them teeth a while. And the faces she was making while she was crying were insane. I didn't put a screenshot of it in here, but I really wanted to. I just, like, at the time I was grabbing my screens, I didn't have time to go find it in the episode, but there was a shot of her crying that I was just like, oh my God. Like, you have to have a pretty high confidence level to put yourself on HBO making that face. But Rick continues to complain and whine about everything, which I continue to feel is a waste of Walton Goggins. Like, that's all he's done so far, is just whine and complain about not wanting to do the stuff that Chelsea wants to do or hang out with other people. And finally, under pressure from Chelsea, Rick reveals the reason for wanting to go to Thailand, and surprise, surprise, it's exactly what the fuck I said, throwing it out there in my video for episode 2. Like, super predictable reveal, right? And again, why would I give credit for that other stuff? Like, maybe it's just shitty. Like, I don't know, man. I'm not even going to do it. But anyway, Rick reveals that Khoo Srita's husband is the person who killed his father. So that's why he's going to Bangkok. Chelsea continues to beg him to not go. But eventually, she ends up going on Greg's yacht alone. I'm legit wondering if Rick is going to make it to Bangkok next week, or if we're going to stall again for another week. I don't know. He's been about to go to Bangkok. So the end of episode 1 was when it was first brought up? Whatever. Anyway, lastly, I'm going to close by talking about the rest of the Ratliff family. Piper reveals that her intention in coming to Thailand was never to interview a monk, but because she wants to move there. And I loved how something that is as big of a reveal for this season. Well, let me rephrase. I love how something that is a big reveal for this season is, in actuality, one uninteresting motive swapped out for another uninteresting motive. Like, and this would be far more interesting if she intended on never leaving Thailand right now, and this was all a ploy just to get her body over there at the expense of her parents. But she says she's going to live there after she finishes school. So she plans on going back home first, finishing school, then moving back to Thailand. So this trip for her was just to look around. Like, she went all the way to Thailand, like, just to get a feel for it. Like, I was more interested in her interviewing the monk. Like, I was interested in the religious shit. But, like, you expect me to believe people legitimately find this show interesting this season? Like, I call bullshit. There's no fucking way, man. This is not interesting. So I always say, like, I don't say that something is bad or not. I just say how I feel about it. But, like, come on, y'all. Come on. You can't. You can't find this good. You can't. This is not interesting. These characters are not interesting. You just want it to be good because you like Mike White or you like the first 2 seasons, but I'm telling you, you were in denial. This shit is a fucking slog. Anyway, this episode, well, not the episode actually, but this video, ends with me talking about the setup for next week. So, this trip on Greg's yacht to this full moon party. Saxon, Lachlan, Chloe are all going on this trip without Greg and without the other members of the Ratliff family. Finally, seems like something interesting is about to happen. This trip should be eventful, as well as the Cougars hanging out with Valentine and his friends. That should be eventful. So, maybe in episode 5, this show will start this season. The season will start to go somewhere. But having said that, I can't promise to continue covering this season. In all honesty, like, it's fun shitting on this show or whatever, and it's, I don't really care, but it's not good. I'm not enjoying watching it. I'm not enjoying talking about it. Again, shitting on it is fun. But, like, there's just too many other things coming up that I'm probably going to want to talk about more. Righteous Gemstone just came back with a strong premiere. Dark Wind Season 3 just premiered. I haven't gotten around to watching the first episode yet, but I can't wait. Love the first 2 seasons. I need to watch that. I might cover that here. You got Season 3 of Gangs of London coming on the 20th, I think. So that's 8 days away. The premiere of The Studio on Apple later this month. I think that's the 26th. Like, all things that I might cover, and I cannot see any world where all of those things are not better than this season of The White Lotus. So maybe I'll see you guys next week. Maybe not. But whatever Whenever I see you again, peace.